Welcome to the Vetiver Vibes podcast. We're your hosts, Nikki Frazier and Rachel Dean, certified clinical aromatherapists. We are excited to have you here on today's episode where you know that you'll get the best essential oil scoop.
This episode is brought to you by Essentria, a leading online school for aromatherapy. If you want to learn more about Ayurvedic Indian head massage, check out the courses at www.schoolofessentria.com. Welcome to this week's episode of Vetiver Vibes. Nikki Frazier here with Amyra. Amyra Morales is an Ayurvedic digestive health coach that focuses on helping women manage rosacea so they can glow from the inside out. She hit her lowest health point in 2018 and through a series of fortunate events ended up in India. And that was the beginning of the end because it is where she discovered Ayurveda and was able to get to the root cause of her health. And this is when she was told that rosacea is not a skin condition, which is really interesting when you think about it that way. And according to Ayurveda, skin conditions are in fact a manifestation of something deeper within. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I know that's a very controversial one or a different way of looking at rosacea, but that's how it was explained to me, and that's how I was able to heal from, I was able to manage my rosacea.
Yeah, and I know I'm very excited for this because I have that same view of what happens to our skin is usually a manifestation of what's happening inside. That's, it's our skin is our largest organ and it detoxes. And if something is imbalanced internally, it will show up on the skin externally. And a lot of people, it's hard to kind of grasp that. And I know I have a lot of family members that suffer with rosacea. Rachel, the other co-founder of Essentria, also has rosacea. So we're all very excited for this and looking at great holistic ways, the Ayurveda viewpoint of helping to manage this. So one thing we always like to ask all of our guests when they come on is, what is your favorite essential oil if you use them, or aroma if you don't use essential oils?
Oh my God, just one. Okay.
I know it's a hard one.
I will have to go with rose, no? So rose to me is so feminine, it's gentle, and if we're talking about it from a skin point of view, it's really great for skin health, no? It also helps with stress levels. It's great for broken capillaries and epic when you're thinking about it from like a dry, sensitive skin point of view, no? I don't know what other benefits you know of, but that's kind of like what I know about rose.
Yes, no, rose is so lovely. It's one of those precious oils that you really only need one drop.
Yeah.
And not even a full drop. I often use, I have a pure rose, but then I also have a diluted rose, and often just one drop of my pre-diluted rose is often still enough in a blend to get amazing benefits. It's a beautiful oil.
Yeah, definitely. And actually, there was a man here who's a medicine man, and he does medicine walks. So he takes you through like the Andes, and you look at different plants and everything. And we have something here in Peru called Humpy Rosa. So it's a rose. It's a rose that typically grows here. But what he was explaining, it was brought over from Europe, and it kind of melted, and now it's this kind of beautiful Andean rose. And whenever you walk past like a Humpy Rosa, like in your treks, you're like it's so amazing. It's so fragrant. So yeah, I love it.
Awesome, amazing. So I know touched a little bit about what brought you to Ayurveda, but I would love to know a little bit more about what brought you to looking at Ayurveda and skin, and how that journey came to be.
Yeah, I guess for me, I came into it due to my frustration and disappointment with modern medicine. So, you gave a bit of a background. So I was in the corporate world for about 10 years until I burnt myself out and landed in hospital. No? So once I was released, I went from like specialist to specialist, trying to find answers to the root cause of, why all these things were happening to me, no? And I just felt like I was banging my head against the wall because everything just came down to prescription medication, and everything was very much like, oh, well, it's part of the aging process, it's genetics, and your test results have come back as normal, and it's just the way it is basically. No, but here is some prescription medication just in case. No. And to me, even though I feel like I was asleep back then, I knew that there was something else, and I knew that my lifestyle, my diet, there was something about it that got me to where I was. No.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, in 2018, I left the corporate world to fulfill this kind of huge desire of becoming a yoga teacher. And I went to India, did my yoga teacher training, and after that, I got really sick. And through a series of fortunate events, I ended up at an Ayurvedic clinic. Now, I had heard about Ayurveda in my yoga teacher training, but it just seemed a little bit too woo-woo for me. Like, there were elements. Like, you got to think, I was in the corporate world. Now I was like budgets, KPI, how do we get new clients, no staffing. So to me, it just seemed a little bit like, well, okay. But anyway, so I went and I had this consultation. And during this consultation, he did my tongue analysis, he did my pulse reading, he asked me a few random questions, and I was about to walk out when he said, okay, so I bet you're like constipated, you've got really dry skin, your joints are cracking, you're not sleeping well, you're having issues digesting. And all of a sudden, I felt like he was reading like my autobiography, and I was like, wow, you have my attention now, because how were you supposed to know all these things just by asking me all these, questions and just doing these things, no? So then I went and did his detox program, and within 21 days, I started to sleep better. I had more energy. I started to digest food properly. And one thing that I clearly noticed was that my skin started to clear up, no?
Mm-hmm.
And I just thought to myself, like, why don't people know about this? So then I went back to Australia, looked at like various Ayurveda courses, because it really, like, I started to heal my body. And there was a college in the States called Joyful Belly. So I did my studies through them, just looking at the digestive system. And then from there, I kind of just like had one client, two clients, and then suddenly my business started to grow. No, so here we are, kind of on this beautiful wave. Just really looking at helping women who have experienced, or are experiencing rosacea and want to look at it from a different point of view rather than just the topical or the antibiotics.
Great. That's amazing. And a great journey also. And you're right, there's a lot of times when it comes to Western medicine, when you're going to see a doctor, their hands are tied too. They don't know what to do, and all they have is a prescription pad of, this is what I can do. And it's amazing when we can look beyond that and see what else is out there. Absolutely. And now, can you maybe just describe what is rosacea? For anyone who doesn't really know what it is, can you maybe describe that a little bit more?
Yeah, so we treat rosacea as inflammation, and you'll notice it mostly on the skin. No, so there's 4 stages of rosacea. So the one is just mild, you get flushing. The second one, where you actually start to get like broken capillaries, and then maybe some acne looking symptoms as well. No, so that's when it's gone to stage 2. And stage 3 is when I don't know if you've noticed, like people who have like kind of like a really red nose, and people often relate that to kind of alcohol. No, so that's stage 3. And then you also have ocular rosacea, which normally happens on the eyes. No, you get this kind of veiny, reddy kind of eyes. No, so those are the 4 kind of stages of rosacea, or the 4 types of rosacea. No, so you go to your doctor and they might give you a topical cream. I know that there is they're starting to put together a connection between kind of like mites on your skin. So they're treating it with steroid creams, or you might go and have a facial. There's laser treatment. So there's different types of approaches, but we look at it from like a digestive point of view. So excess heat in the body of what we call in Ayurveda pitta. So pitta imbalance.
Yeah. And is this something that typically people are born with, or how does someone typically develop this skin condition on their face? And it's typically always on the face. It's not typically found other places, correct?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like eczema, no, or other ones, psoriasis, which are found in different parts of the body, no. So there've been quite a few studies, and normally people who are affected by rosacea are of Anglo descent, no. So we're talking about Swedish or that kind of area, no, Irish, very delicate kind of skin, no. But I guess over the past 5, 10 years, we've noticed it more with other people, no. So when I do my proper consultation, I do 60 to 90 minutes, and we really look into that. No, so my understanding is that some people develop rosacea through stress. No, so stress, emotions, or diet. No, so when I work with them, I work out in which category they sit under. No, so is there too much inflammation in the diet? No, so then we need to look at that. So we need to go and take an approach of an anti-inflammatory, low histamine diet. Now, is it an emotional thing? Like, especially I've noticed as well, Nikki, which is super interesting, women heading into perimenopause, that seems to be like a increasing number of people who, and I'm also like on perimenopause groups and stuff, and I've noticed that there is a connection there. No? But if it's a gut, if it's a gut related one, usually like 60% of people with like SIBO, for example, do get rosacea. No? My rosacea came through inflammation of yeast overgrowth, so candida overgrowth. No, so it just depends which one. No, but there isn't like one specific or many specific studies that it is because of X. No,
Yeah,
really
a
varies.
combination.
Exactly.
And no, interesting with that, the perimenopause group of women. And when you stop and really think about it, the hormone shift, it does make sense because the hormone shifts affect so much of the mind and body, and that can cause inflammation. It can cause a disruption in all kinds of different body systems. So when I stop and think about it, I'm like, yeah, I could see that it could be one thing for certain people that
Yeah.
might come up. So yeah, very, very interesting. Um, and so let's kind of dive into because you've often referenced, the gut and all of that. So can you talk about that of how is the gut and skin connected?
Yeah, it's super interesting, no? And I don't know about you, but for me, like the gut discussion has been like kind of heating up over the past 5, 10 years. No, we're starting to learn more about it, more studies are going into it. But the reality is that 5,000 years ago, Ayurveda was really like talking about, how important the gut is in overall health, no? And so this is something super interesting, no? And if the gut is not working properly, it's going to have a ripple effect on the way we think, we sleep, our mood, our overall well-being, no? So because as we know, 90%, is it 90% of serotonin is, stored in the gut. So you can just see, so there's been a few studies that I'm reading as well about, autism as well, no? Once you start to heal the gut, some of the symptoms of autism. So really the basis and the foundation of Ayurveda is really about gut health, no? And it really surprises me, Nikki, that a lot of us are slowly learning to live with symptoms, no, such as gas and bloating and constipation, loose bowels and discomfort, no, that we've just considered it as part of life, no. So when we look at the gut and skin connection in Ayurveda, no, so glowing skin in Ayurveda is ultimately the kind of the measure of bodily health, no, and well-being, no, because the skin is almost like a window to the rest of the body, and it can reveal so much of what's happening deeper within.
I say that often too. And I say it for myself too, especially after my last pregnancy. I'm still battling 2.5 years later with hormone imbalances from the IVF medications that is causing acne. And it's our skin is definitely a window to inside. And a lot of what you were saying too of, with the gut, it's what we eat is affecting our gut. And the sad diet, the American standard diet is causing so many issues with our food being pumped full of antibiotics and pesticides and herbicides and all these different poisons that are supposed to help our food, but when we ingest them, they're really not helping or healthy for us. And you can see that. And I find, especially in North America, even just our wheat is produced so different versus European wheat. I feel like they shouldn't be called the same thing because they're so drastically different on how they're grown, on how they're sprayed and chemically altered here in North America that are
Mhm.
causing so many health issues that as soon as you go to Europe, those health issues typically disappear. And then all of a sudden they come back from vacation and they come, once they start eating again, it all comes back. And I hear this time and time again from so many people. And it's let food be thy medicine. If we're eating, whatever we're eating is going to affect us, our mind, body, soul, it's all connected. And that's how we're feeding ourselves.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've had a few clients terrified of like going to Europe or like to Italy. No, they said, "Oh, my husband's booked a trip to Italy, but I'm really scared. I don't know what to do. Like, I can't have." I'm like, trust me, I think that you'll notice that it's going to be easier than you actually, think about it. No, so
Yeah.
they go to Italy and they're having a good time. They're more relaxed. They're eating healthier. They're eating the wheat and it's not having any effect. And then you're right. No, they go back to the States or back to Canada or wherever. No, and then the flare-ups begin, no?
Yeah.
So it's really looking about that, no? Because really, when you think about it, the skin is an organ of protection, no? It is kind of like the physical barrier between your body and the outside world, no? And it keeps you safe from harmful radiation and microorganisms as well, no? So I love what you say, let food be thy medicine. And it's the way that we eat, no, it's what we eat, no? But Ayurveda
Mhm.
also goes a step further and says, how are you eating it, no? Are you eating
Yes.
it in a rush? Are you eating, like, I remember
Yes.
like when I worked in the corporate world and I had to like go to a meeting and I just came out of meeting, had to quickly grab lunch, jump in my car, drive across town, no? And I would just be like, just scoffing
Yep.
food down, no? And then I would get home, like, wow, well, why am I having so many cramps? Why am I like constipated? Why am all this? And you would go to your doctor and they would say to you, oh, okay, well, yeah, if you're having a bowel movement twice a week or once a week, it should be fine, no? And then Ayurveda, when I told my doctor, he was like, you're eating every day. Where do you think that food's going? No? So it's
Yeah.
just built in the body. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah. And and it is like we need to move and shift and yeah, unfortunately there's so many misconceptions that are out there.
Mhm.
And like you said, Ayurveda, we do have Ayurvedic Indian head massage course that we offer. And so some of our students who've taken that have a little bit of background when it comes to some portions of Ayurveda. We don't have a full course or anything like that. I'm not qualified in full course, but it is a huge passion of mine. So can you talk a little bit about how that incorporates into it?
The Indian head massage?
No, sorry, just the Ayurveda. But like, because you mentioned, like, so if the body's typically inflamed and hot, so looking at a pitta, like that aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So in Ayurveda, we work with three doshas, which are like energy types now. So we've got the five elements that go on to make the three doshas. So when you go to an Ayurvedic practitioner, they assess which of these energy types has increased, no? And the idea is really to bring them back into balance, no? So, for example, if I'm presented, and this is actually my party trick, when I meet people, I'm like, oh, they've got a bit of dry patches. Their vata is probably a little bit high. Now, I wonder what fats they're using, or they could really benefit from like oil cleansing, no? So that's what I kind of have a look at, no? So when you do an analysis or when you do an assessment of somebody, you look at which one has gone out of balance and you bring them back through diet, lifestyle modifications, looking at stress, incorporating mindfulness practices. And one thing I've also started to do is really look at their skincare, no? Because we can be having amazing diets, we can be having, really Kangen water, like the best water out there. But then if we're putting, I don't know, like supermarket, skincare on our skin, then it's
Full of
just
fragrances, full of parabens, full of, artificial colors, all that stuff. Yeah.
exactly. So we start to look at every aspect, no? Because Ayurveda looks at everything from a holistic point of view, no? We
Mm.
don't just look at diet and that's it, no? So we look at like, let's incorporate a morning routine, no? Because digestion works best when you are actually having a daily routine. You're having breakfast at the same time, lunch at the same time, dinner at the same time, no? Because then what you're doing is you're getting the body to really know what to do each day, no? Because if you're having breakfast one day at 6, then at 8, then you forget to have breakfast, then you're having it again at 7. The body is really confused and doesn't know how to produce enzyme, doesn't know how to go into this kind of relaxed state after a meal. So it's really about preparing the body from a holistic point of view, no? So with specifically with rosacea, no, we look at the diet that they're having, no, and instead opting for like easy to digest. So we're talking about risottos, soups, stews, those kind of things. So in Ayurveda, we prefer cooked food over raw food, no, because raw food, even though it's healthier, it's actually more difficult to digest for the body, especially if you are having all these gut issues, no. So we bring you into a state of easy to digest food, maybe cooling foods, maybe using things like coriander, aloe vera, watermelon, coconut water, coconut oil, no. So just shifting all these things, no. And then once we feel that the digestion has kind of is in the healing process, then we also look at healing the gut lining, no. So we can do this through some Ayurvedic herbs, and I think one of them is psyllium husk as well, like that coats the lining of the digestive system. So that's kind of how we approach from an Ayurvedic point of view.
Amazing. And I have a few takeaways that I'm just trying to sort through. And the one thing that kind of ties in what you said beforehand too is just making sure you take your time. It's not something rushed, and enjoy the food.
Mm-hmm.
So I find that always makes a big difference. You're talking about easy digestible food, super important, and giving your body the time to actually realize it's had food in,
Mm-hmm.
we are feeding it. It is receiving the fuel, because if we are distracted while we're eating,
Yeah.
it's not going to register that we actually ate what we actually ate. And I recognize that myself sometimes when I know, like, I had a meeting before and lunch, and then if I have a meeting after lunch, I'll still depending on how much time I have, sometimes I'll take, the time that I need to eat. But sometimes I'm a very big bookworm, so sometimes I'll read while I'm eating as well. And I'm like, and I know those meals are never as satisfying or as nourishing as when I'm not reading or working through my lunch or doing what is, doing that multitask versus honestly just doing that mindful eating of being present in that moment while eating to help the body digest those more digestible foods as well. It's
Yeah,
it's a huge
definitely.
thing.
And it's super interesting now because it's something as simple as chewing your food properly. And I know
Mhm.
that's really hard, of how our lifestyles and everything. But I tell my clients, just be really mindful of how you're chewing your food, no? Like it should be baby food consistency, no? Because if you are doing a lot of the work in the mouth, which is the beginning of the digestive system, then by the time it makes its way down, your digestive system won't have to work as hard, no? So you would rather have your mouth do most of the work than your stomach do most of the work, no? And then
Yeah.
that you start to get, digestive issues, congestion, no? And even if you're kind of having a meal and feeling really tired afterwards, your digestive system is telling you like, wow, like I'm going to have to work overtime if I'm
Yeah.
having, I don't know, raw kale salad. You're not chewing it properly. You're not hydrating throughout the day, no? So your body is always giving you clues of what's going on, no? The thing is that we're a little bit, some of us are really disconnected from our body that we don't even know these symptoms, no? And like I
Mhm.
said, gas and bloating has become normal, no? Like constipation, normal kind of thing, no? But they're not really normal.
Yeah, and I took a specialization in gut health and aromatherapy a while ago, and the teacher for that course, she had a great line where she said, "You should be drinking your food and chewing your liquids."
Exactly.
And it was an interesting thing when I was like, yeah, because you want to, it's not just two chews and you swallow. Like you really need to masticate it. So that is you're pretty much just, it's soup that you can just swallow it very
Mm.
easily versus soups or smoothies. A lot of people like smoothies also and things like that. You need to make sure that you're still chewing them to release those enzymes into the
Mhm.
food to help, once it gets to the gut, those enzymes are there and helping to digest as well.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. I'm a huge fan of smoothies and I am an advocate for people having smoothies. Just chew it, no?
yeah,
Definitely, definitely.
awesome. So, what would be a few things that our listeners can do? So, if you do have rosacea, anyone who's listening who has rosacea, what are some things that they can do at home to help themselves?
Yeah, so I guess for me it would be like keeping a diary, like when did your rosacea begin? Was it close to a breakup? Was it close to like some big life event? No, then more than likely it's kind of an emotional thing, no? And it's about really working on that emotional release, no? Because if you haven't let go of that emotion or that event, then it's probably bottling up somewhere, no? And we really need to work with this kind of just really getting into the root cause of that, no? And if it is like a stress related, no, then maybe you have a stressful job, maybe you're managing a family, maybe you've got like so many things going on, no? And really looking at, okay, how can we reduce stress? Now, and I'm not saying stress is a bad thing. There's definitely like good stress. Like if you go to the gym and you stress your body out, that's pretty good, no? But I'm talking about if you're constant and living on stress mode, no? Then you're probably hitting burnout, no? So is your rosacea related to stress, no? Then we need to kind of address that, no? And I think as women, and I don't know what your thoughts are on this, Nikki, we tend to like take on everything now. We want the house to be
Yes.
perfect. We want, our job to be perfect. And now I guess with a lot of us who are entrepreneurs, our business and family life has blended, no? They're into one, no? And
Yeah.
that's why we're constantly on emails, we're constantly on our phones at 8 p.m. No, so it's really like about zooming out and saying, okay, what things can I palm off to somebody? What things can I delegate? And really voicing to your partner or to the family, like I'm really struggling with this. No, so the stress doesn't accumulate. You're not living on stress mode all the time.
Yeah.
No, so is it a stress? Then we can look at yoga. No, we can look at meditation, mindfulness practices. No, I think we really, really underestimate the power of breath, no? And people always want this, like, I know the panacea for a lot of things. And really, to me, it's just like, how's your breathing?
Mhm.
I want you to take a deep breath, and you normally notice it, like the chest puffing out. And I'm like, let's flip that around. Let's have
Yeah.
you breathe from the belly, expand the belly away from the spine. No, so it's really looking at these subtle changes. No, just taking 5 deep breaths in the morning, no, lunchtime, dinner, or whatever else, and then maybe bump it up. Maybe bump up your meditation practice. No, stretch out the body, ground. No, put your feet on grass. I know that some parts of the world is probably still a little bit cold now, but get into that mode of grounding, no, because we're constantly living up here, no, in the head, no, and Ayurveda teaches us ground, put your,
Yeah.
your feet on the ground. And then if it is as a diet thing, no, I normally, like I said, I get people to write a food diary, and we look at, no, let's take out gluten for a while. Let's start, dairy. And this is one of the hardest things, for people to take out stimulants. Now, what's your coffee doing to you? What is it about coffee that you really love? No, and then your wine, no, like an alcohol. So then you start to notice that these kind of people are living in like with an anti-inflammatory diet. No, so
Mhm.
let's slowly start to take out some of this. It might just be a dairy issue. No, at the end of the day. No, so it's really looking at the diet from that point of view. No, but like I said,
And a
no,
lot of people, I find when they start modifying their diet, they don't necessarily notice things at first. So
Mhm.
they might have modified their diet for, 4, 6 weeks. And then it's when they start introducing things back in, then
Mhm.
that's when the light bulb goes off being like, oh, okay,
Mhm.
maybe that did make a difference because now I'm
Mhm.
starting to feel gross again. The rosacea's coming back. I didn't realize that it did get better. Now it's kind of like the thing, it's often that they're like, yeah, there wasn't a big difference. So I'm just going to start eating again. And then it's like, light bulb moment.
Yeah, yeah. And I love it when my clients have these moments as well. Now I've got a client that I'm working with now, and I couldn't fault her diet. Like she was having it very cooling, she was chewing her food. And then she said, oh, I'm putting like cinnamon on everything. Like I love cinnamon. I'm putting it on my smoothies, I'm putting on my stewed apples, and I'm doing this. And I'm like, now cinnamon is quite heating in Ayurveda, no?
Mhm.
And it's a high histamine spice, no? Let's take out cinnamon and see how that feels, no? And within a week, like, it had gone down. And I'm like, okay, there we go.
Yeah.
Now we know that it is based on that, no? And with once you start to heal the gut, it doesn't mean that you will never be able to have cinnamon ever again, no? It just means that within time, once the digestive system is healed, we seal the gut, then you can start incorporate and see how it feels, no?
Mhm.
Sometimes there's no issue, or sometimes there might be a slight issue, no? But at least
Mhm.
we know that cinnamon was probably something to do with her inflammation.
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. And yeah, like you said, I hear that often also. People are worried when they have to take something out, do some kind of an elimination diet to see if something's working or not for them. If they can go their whole lives like, okay, so what? Like you said, I can't eat cinnamon for the rest of my life. It's like, no, not necessarily.
Mhm.
But it might be something you just eat in moderation more
Mhm.
so as
Exactly.
well. So,
Yeah, exactly. And this is something else I love about Ayurveda because naturally, like garlic and ginger, garlic and onions, for example, are really heating, no? So normally, like with my rosacea clients, I get them to substitute, no? Okay, let's substitute onion. Let's go for fennel bulb, no? And let's go with garlic. Let's substitute that and add asafoetida, which is an Indian spice, no? And they
mm,
notice it, no? So the fennel is not going to give you like the deliciousness of the onion, but it is definitely going to caramelize the food and you are going to get some sort of like oniony taste, no? So it's just
okay.
about modifying things as well, no? So you're never going to not have onion again. It's just like, let's try fennel bulb. And a lot of my clients are like, I actually really like fennel bulb on my stews and my soups instead of onion, no? Because onion made me gassy. It gave me like kind of just feeling funny on the chest, no? So it's
Mhm.
about modification as well, not just simply, I'm never going to have these again and that's it. It's about like, let's try this, no?
Yes, I love that. And there is often other options out there. And especially now, like when you go into the grocery store in the
Mhm.
produce section, like our produce section is huge. There's so many different options. So if one thing doesn't work, I'm sure there is going to be some kind of other food, veggie, spice out there that can be used as an alternative. And, like you said, those foods are still going to be yummy and make them enjoyable. They don't have to be just bland or something you're not looking forward to.
And I think that's something really interesting that you've brought up, Nikki. I think people think that, like these kind of diets are bland and they're boring and stuff. I mean, if you're not into cooking, then everything's going to be bland and boring or whatever, no? But you can definitely play with spices, no? There's
Mhm.
definitely cooling spices like fennel like seeds, we can start using those ones, coriander, no? So there's definitely I believe that the West is slowly waking up to the powers of spices, and
Mhm.
they're not just there for taste, but they actually have a purpose, no? Ones help you digest, ones cool you down, ones give you like a boost, like turmeric, for example. That's a really good stimulant for somebody who's got like quite a lot of stagnation in the body. So it's really interesting that the West, I love it that they're starting to wake up to spices.
Yeah, and we use essential oils very similar to that also.
Mhm.
When I'm working with with a client, looking at, whatever they're coming in for, there's a lot of the essential oils very much have those cooling or warming or whatever it is that they need, and blending for that is how we blend. So it's very similar in going from herbs to essential oils. They're not the same and they can't be used interchangeably, but it's similar looking at, which ones to grab when looking for if you have someone who is typically more inflamed, more of that hot, looking for those cooler oils to help calm
Mhm.
them, cool the body down, or vice versa. So
Mm.
I am always someone who is cold. I actually talking about I have cinnamon and cayenne pepper in my water every day.
Okay.
My first giant cup of water always has those for my first liter, just to help warm my body in the morning so that I can maybe stay semi-warm throughout the day.
Mhm. Yeah,
And
I'm a bit like that as well.
that's something that I've been doing for quite a while now. And I notice a huge difference when I started adding those two spices into just my first cup of or my first liter of water through the day. And versus summertime though, I usually add in more of like peppermint leaves or cucumbers because to help with those cooling effects.
Yeah.
Um, so absolutely, I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, is there anything else that is coming to mind that would be beneficial for our listeners to know?
I think maybe like for me, I know that Ayurveda has this kind of stigma that it's so complicated, and this is one of the things that people tell me, like, oh, there's just so much to it. Now, of course, there's too much to it if you want to do it all at once, no? But Ayurveda just tells you, like, take a baby step approach. No, just maybe just tune in with your morning routine, like you're saying. No, you love your, your warm water with your spices, no? So let's get into maybe like 1 week. Let's just, I don't know, let's just tongue scrape. The following week, we're going to oil pull, no? So this is what I get my clients to do. So 1 week, just really nail that one. And then next week, we're just going to add one more. No? So you've got two things now. No? And then by week 5 of, into my 3-month program, they've kind of have this really solid understanding of the importance of a morning routine. No? And then slowly, slowly, we're going to start to eat at the same time. Then we're going to have a nighttime routine, no? And then we're going to look at our hydration, no? So if you do it all at once, of course, it's going to become overwhelming and you'll probably hate Ayurveda, but really do it step by step, one thing at a time and one foot in front of the other. And then this is going to like set you up for like amazing results in the long term.
I love that. And it's very true. I used to work in the school system for years, and there's a lot of students where it was like you get an assignment, and even still as an adult now, like you get an assignment and you see this whole maybe 1, 2 page written of assignment. It's like almost daunting of like, oh, what are they asking? Like that's a lot of information. Like you said, like honestly, just one paragraph at a time. Okay, what is the first step? What is step 2? It doesn't all need to be in one shot, one day. You don't have to be perfect in one day. And our motto is always done is better than perfect as well.
Mhm.
So, you that first step, like you said, if it's tongue scraping, okay, then just focus on that. And then once you feel confident in that, then move on to the next one. And there's typically no rush when it comes to things. As long as you try and stay as consistent as possible and keep moving forward, then eventually you'll get to that finish line.
Yeah, and eventually all these things just become part of your morning routine. Like
Yes.
I cannot not like tongue scrape. Like for me, like I feel like, and I wherever I travel or whatever I do, my tongue scrape is with me. It's just become part of what I do, no? And when I first started, I was like, oh my God, I don't think I can like tongue scrape and brush my teeth and oil pull and then stand outside with warm water. But now it's just part of it, no? And if you have enough time to be on social media and you tell me that you don't have enough time to do all these things, I would really question where you're putting your energy, no? So would I rather be like 1 hour on Instagram in the morning, or would I rather have this and, really nail this epic morning routine? So it's just at the end of the day, where your energy is going.
Yeah. And I used to do a lot of oil pulling, and I got out of it a while ago, and I need to start it again because I did notice a big difference. And things like that is you can just do it while you're in the shower. Honestly, that's what I always did. It's so there that doesn't take any extra time in your day. It was literally before I jumped in the shower, I would just take my spoonful and while I'm showering and then getting dressed, toweling off, and then I would spit it in the garbage can when I was done. It doesn't need to be precise minutes of it either. I know a lot of information out there I've often seen of like you need to oil pull for 20 minutes. And I'm happy you're shaking no also because I'm like you don't need to. And actually I've heard recently I've because I used to always pull with coconut oil, and recently I've seen some people actually pulling with castor oil and only needing to do that for like 2 minutes, and it has just as much effects as pulling with something like coconut oil for 10, 15 minutes even. Um,
Mm.
but and it's also again, right, working up, especially something like oil pulling where you can do it for 2 minutes on day one, because I know a lot of people when they start, they're just that gagging of like, oh goodness, what you need me to do this for 5 minutes? No, 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 don't start for 5 minutes. Start with like 1 minute and then work up to maybe 3 minutes. See how that goes. Like just slowly work your way up.
Totally, totally. And there's some brands out there as well that have infused them with essential oils. There's one particular that comes to mind, or that have put that peppermint oil and stuff. So yeah, at the beginning it's going to seem really weird, but I think once you start to infuse it with essential oils as well, I don't know what your point. Obviously, you're a huge
Mhm.
advocate of essential oils now, but I get my clients to say, because they're used to having, a particular supermarket brand that is like
Yeah.
very very minty, and it comes in a blue liquid. So if they're used to having that, then going to like just coconut oil, it does seem weird, no? But if you start infuse, maybe orange or maybe peppermint oils or something like that, then it's not as bad for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, ingesting is never recommended for, I shouldn't say never, I should never say never. I'm actually trained in internal medicine, internal use of essential oils, but it's not, it's something to use very, very cautiously. But this is an internal use, is what I want to stress about is, we're swishing it in our mouth and we're spitting it out. So in this situation, absolutely. I use essential oils in when I'm oil pulling. Absolutely, because it adds that extra layer of benefits.
Mhm.
And I've even had it before where I think it was like a tooth sensitivity or something. So I added tea tree that time. Other times it was lemon. Other times it was peppermint. Other times, I was orange. Like I really myrrh is a really great one for oral health. So going with myrrh
Clove as
sometimes
well.
it's,
Clove would be a good
I
one.
wouldn't do
Okay.
clove typically because it's a little too hot.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Clove is a little too hot. So it is one that you often hear, but it's kind of one of those hotter oils that I'd be more cautious with. But yeah, just one. I usually have when I was doing it very regularly, I had a container in the bathroom that I just had it all pre-mixed, and then I just had my spoon there that I would just take, uncap it, take my little spoonful, recap it, wash my spoon, and then put it again off to the side in my cupboard and ready to go the next day while I was getting ready to hop in the shower. It was great.
And I love the fact that you mentioned you spit it out in like,
Yes.
outside or a rubbish bin because I personally have clogged up my bathroom sink and I had to get the landlord and the landlord is like, I'm like, oh, that makes sense. I've
Oh
just clogged.
no.
I didn't tell him obviously, but I was like, okay. So I have to make sure. He was
Yeah.
just like, I'll change it anyway. It's just really weird that this has happened. I'm like, yeah, what's so weird? It's so weird.
Learned it the hard way. And I mean, once you learn it the hard way, you typically know for life at least. But yes, always spit in the garbage. I usually had a roll of paper towel or something also that I would just kind of spit in that and then put it into the garbage.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
definitely.
All right. Any parting words for our listeners?
I think for me, like, and I know I've said this before, but really connect with your breath. Breath, it
Mm.
to me is everything. If at any time you're feeling anxious or something's come up, just connect with the body and just take a deep breath. Breath to me has been one of the biggest game changers and really helped me so much. So it's been really part of my healing journey, and we underestimate it. And it's free, and you can do it at any time, and it's available to you like whenever. So
Yeah.
yeah, connect with the breath.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Before we chime off, I know you mentioned quickly about your program.
Mhm.
Do you want to talk a little bit more about that? Because you said you have a 3-month program to help people and you do the step by step. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I have a 1 month like quick realignment program for people who just want to like just make small tweaks in their daily routine or just get to know a little bit about their digestion. But my 3 month program is called Cleanse, Nourish, Glow. So I take you through like the whole cleansing, process, the diet, looking at toxic ingredients in your skincare, and then the nourishment is bringing things back. So looking at diet, how can we create this beautiful diet that is really in alignment with you? And then glow is kind of like I teach you how to kind of infuse, herbs with some oils to use as oil cleansers. So really looking at like how you can start glowing from the inside out.
I love that. And obviously that's going to help with rosacea.
Mhm.
Would it also help with acne, different other skin conditions like that as well, I would assume too?
Yeah, I mean, acne and rosacea are like, kind of distant cousins as well, but they're both inflammation at the end of the day, and the
Mm,
diet is very, very similar, no? So with acne, we take a slightly different approach, but again, it's also an inflammation, no? So excess pitta,
mm.
heat in the body, no? I think with acne, people are so like concerned about fats and bacteria that they want to strip their skin, but really that's just causing more issues in the long run, no? So
Yeah.
they dance kind of hand in hand sometimes.
Awesome. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for coming on the episode. We really appreciate it. So, if you do have rosacea, or if you want to work more and join one of these programs, how can people reach out to you and connect with you?
Yeah, so I have a private Facebook group, so you can come and connect with me there. I love to hang out. It's called Ayurveda for Millennial Women. So yeah, I really look at taking a holistic approach to health. So I've been posting about, my journey, about calendula. I post about Ayurveda, recipes, and anything like that. So if this has interested you, come and hang out with me there. Otherwise, you can just connect with me on Facebook, Amayra Morales.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And we'll have that information in the show notes also to make it easy for people to connect with you. Thank you again for coming on the podcast this week. I hope everyone has a fantastic day. Bye.
Thank you, Nikki.
Thank you for spending your time with us here at Vetiver Vibes. This episode was brought to you by Essentria, a leading online aromatherapy school. Don't forget to check out some of our free resources at www.schoolofessentria.com.
If you love this episode or you got a lot of value out of it, please make sure you share it with someone in your community who you think would enjoy it too. If you haven't already subscribed or reviewed the show yet, you can go on over to your preferred streaming platform and hit subscribe, then leave a review. This is the best way to help support us, and we appreciate it. Email us with a screenshot of your review, and we will send you a free guided meditation as our way to say thank you.
This podcast is for information purposes only. We are certified clinical aromatherapists and holistic health professionals. If you have a medication concern, please refer to your health team. Everyone's health is unique to themselves, so the topics and suggestions stated may or may not apply directly to you.